Well, hello everybody, we are back for another tier list, and as you can see we have Luke, so this is going to be an extra special one. And since we are such a happily married couple, we thought it'd be fun to rank and maybe roast some of the comic pairings we've found in DC Comics. So let's get into our ranking system. So the lowest tier we have is Do Better. Then above that, Come On. Like, okay, I guess I could kind of see it, but then we have Bubbly. What do you think bubbly represents in a relationship?
It's getting bubbly.
Okay. And then A tier, Adorable. So these are the ones that are undeniable. They are a great pairing.
Aww, isn't that cute?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't they so sweet?
So those are the good ones, but then the best ones we have are Saucy.
You can cut a part of that out.
Without further ado, let's get into our first pairing, and I think we gotta go with our boy Batman as the first choice. So what should we start with? He's on this list a few times because he has had many encounters, but I think we will start with Catwoman, who is typically seen these days as his most consistent love interest. They have their on and off thing. DC does not want their characters to really be in a steady relationship, but particularly Batman.
But if there was going to be one steady relationship, it would be with Batman and Catwoman.
Yeah, I like Batman and Catwoman. They definitely have their differences, but they're often fighting on the same side of things. They may not agree on methods all the time, but they definitely care about one another, and they're both in kind of that morally gray area where they're both criminals, but they're not really harming other people for the most part.
I like seeing Batman and Catwoman pair up. I think it's really funny when they bounce off each other. I really enjoy how they share the same pessimistic outlook on life. And my favorite romance between Batman and Catwoman will always be the 60s show with Adam West.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's my favorite Catwoman and Batman. Batman and Catwoman. S tier.
Yeah, in the early days she was more of a straight-up villain, but there was always kind of a romantic tension. Batman always has a soft spot for the bad girls. For now, Batman has to be Batman, all alone and sad.
What would a Batman Catwoman child look like?
They had one. I'll put up a picture in the video. An out of continuity sort of thing that goes into the future and shows a daughter that they had. And in the old comics too, they also had a daughter who became the original Huntress before the Huntress that we know today. Helena Wayne, not Helena Bartonelli.
Now, I also understand, didn't Batman have a quick fling with Wonder Woman, or has in the past?
I didn't put that on the list because pretty much everyone in the Justice League has had a fling with Wonder Woman at one point. She gets around.
Whoa, does she get around, or does Batman get around? Batman seems busy.
Yeah, for a loner, he definitely has a lot of friends and associates, I guess you could say.
He's definitely messing with the baddies.
Next, we're gonna get into another lady villain, kind of turned hero, anti-hero over the years. We're gonna get into Green Lantern and Star Sapphire. So, Star Sapphire is Carol Ferris, who was Hal Jordan's boss at Ferris Airways, where he was a pilot, and he was not very good at his job. He was very arrogant. A lot of people couldn't put up with him except for Carol Ferris, and they got along pretty good, but you know, they had their problems. They broke up, and then she became the crazy Star Sapphire, was possessed by an alien, and became crazy with love, and that was kind of the story for a while, and then it was kind of retconned a little bit to where she's more of a hero working on Hal Jordan's side, and I think they have reunited in the new comics, so that's what this image here is for. And I definitely don't think they are the best pairing in all of comics, but I do think that Hal Jordan, being as kind of egotistical and arrogant as he is, kind of needs a crazy bitch like this. So I think I'll put them in adorable. What do you think?
I was gonna say adorable bubbly.
Yeah,
I like
bubbly.
I like adorable because Star Sapphire started as a not so good girl and then ended up as kind of an anti-hero, and Hal Jordan is hop between the good and bad side as well, so I think that's really appropriate. And driven crazy by love, that I'm extremely sympathetic to that.
Yeah, dude. How about Aquaman and Mera? I think that they are a pretty good couple. They're both pretty powerful, and they kind of need each other because Aquaman, he wasn't born in the sea. He kind of inherited his role as king, and Mera grew up there. She kind of leads the way a little bit, takes the charge a little bit, and in a lot of ways she's more powerful than Aquaman, and has some abilities he doesn't have, like she could drain his blood if she wanted to. It's
blood.
Pretty kinky. So I think that's kind of saucy, my man.
I think that's
saucy.
I understand that the relationship between Aquaman and Mera is kind of pivotal to the story between.
Yeah, they've had their bumps in the road. They lost their son.
They've had their bumps in the ocean.
Yeah.
Lots of bumps, man.
Had their ups and downs, but doing well now. They have a new baby, so things are looking good. So we got Aquaman and Mera in Saucy. I think that's a good pairing there. Okay, so Luke wants to do this one next. We're gonna do Harley Quinn and Ivy. So this can be kind of a controversial relationship. So tell us, Luke, why did you want to talk about this one next? Some people really love this relationship, and some people really hate it for obvious reasons.
One of the more famous relationships in DC is the toxic relationship between Harley Quinn and Joker, and in Batman the Animated Series, Harley Quinn runs off with Poison Ivy as like a friendship, and it's never really suggested that they have a romantic one, but the point of the episode was that Harley Quinn loses her dependence on the abusive Joker and runs off with a best female empowered friend. It's only later in other comics where, not implied, but directly stated that their relationship is romantic. I really like that. It shows there can be life beyond abusive relationships.
Yeah, well, something I wanted to say about these two is that no matter what you think about their relationship itself as characters, they both have grown a lot into more straight-up hero roles as opposed to darker, more villainous anti-heroes in their time together, as opposed to Harley being with the Joker and Ivy just kind of being on her own. It seems like maybe they bring out a better side of each other, a more heroic side, so that is something I will say. I would put them maybe towards bubbly.
I'd put them towards bubbly because their relationship doesn't seem to have a lot of substance outside of the comedy show.
Yeah, and since we briefly touched on the abusive relationship with the Joker, I think we already know where that one's going.
That one's going, do better. Every time I see edgelords act like they're Harley Quinn and Joker, I cry a little bit on the inside because either they do know what they're talking about or they don't, and either way that doesn't make me happy. Do not be the Harley Quinn to a Joker. You can do better than that.
Yeah, I was never a big fan of Harley Quinn, and I didn't like for a while that they constantly had her running back to the Joker, so I'm kind of glad that they've moved away from that seemingly for now.
In Gotham and Glam, we're giving all abusive relationships a 0 out of 10. We don't appreciate that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go into another one that I think is kind of, not one of my favorites, and maybe this will be a hot take, but Batman and Talia. I do not like them together. I think that is another sort of borderline abusive relationship. I think she is a very manipulative person. I think she's very loyal to her father, and pursuing Batman in the beginning especially was more a mission for her father. Their morals just do not align where Batman and Selina can work together. I mean, they have a son together, but that relationship started off very rocky, and a lot of that had to do with Talia and some of the nasty things that she did. So, I think we're gonna do, what do you think? Come On?
I would say Come On because they definitely flirt.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I would
But
say
the
Batman
whole-
was not completely non-consensual with
Right,
the
there was
relationship.
definitely
There was
coital assault.
Yeah, he's intrigued by Talia. Maybe he feels a little bit bad for her because she was raised in a cult. But overall...
You wouldn't have to twist my arm that hard.
Yeah, but overall,
Yeah, that's not
I don't think she was ever his true love. I think he loves Selina a lot more. I think that Talia overall was not good for him. The only reason I put her in Come On is because she is the mother of Damien, and he is kind of obligated to have some level of a relationship with her. So, for that reason, and I also don't think she is beyond redemption like the Joker. Like, yeah, she was raised and brainwashed into a cult, into a horrible organization, and raised to be an assassin and a murderer, but she's not beyond redemption.
Well, speaking about redemption...
Oh yeah, Luke wanted to talk about Mr. Freeze because he has a very unconventional relationship as well, and we like to represent all types of relationships, even people who are married to a corpse. She was diagnosed with a terminal illness, so he froze her in order to find a cure for her illness.
That wasn't canon in any Batman story until the animated series. That plot was put in for the animated show, and everyone liked it so much that it became canon.
Mm-hmm.
I like a sympathetic villain. I really like how in the Telltale games, how Batman is very sympathetic to Mr. Freeze. When a villain's motivation isn't just selfish greed or evil or chaos, I really like a... I would put it under adorable.
So, we both grew up in a time where the Teen Titans cartoon was very popular, and there were some pairings on that show that a lot of fans really liked, and one of the most popular DC couples that's kind of been forgotten in recent years is Nightwing and Starfire, because recently Nightwing is paired more with Barbara Gordon, and his relationship with Starfire is kind of shoved a little bit more under the rug, but I always thought that they were cute in the show and in the comics. They're both very upbeat, bubbly personalities, and I think that it just works.
I think they're sweet. I think I think they're unmatched optimism.
Mm-hmm. I think adorable. What do you think?
I think they're adorable.
Yeah,
I definitely ship Starfire and Nightwing.
Mm-hmm. And another pairing from that show that It was a little more subtle.
Ship.
I guess they were canon in the Jeff Johns run of Teen Titans as a couple. And we're talking about Beast Boy and Raven. And part of what I really like about Beast Boy and Raven actually is the fact that they do sort of have kind of opposite personalities. Beast Boy is a much more bubbly, kind of outgoing, optimistic type, and Raven is a lot more inward and more of a loner. And I feel like that kind of mirrors us and our relationship in a way, because I am much more reserved and Luke is kind of more of an outgoing, kind of loudmouth type of guy. You know, we balance each other out, and I think Raven and Beast Boy kind of have that dynamic too, and I think it's adorable. But I think that it probably goes in bubbly just because they don't have as established a relationship. I think the only time they were canon together was in the Jeff Johns run. And so I feel like they haven't had as significant a relationship as someone like, you know, Catwoman and Mara. That's why I put them there. What do you think, though?
I think every goth baddie needs a golden retriever boyfriend. No, I'd keep it under bubbly. Okay. I keep it bubbly.
So we've talked a little bit about Batman and some of his love interests over the years, and he seems to have a thing for the baddies, and one of them that he just keeps going back to. A little bit unconventional, but we like to kind of have some diversity on these lists.
We're gonna have one of the deepest romances in DC, of course. We're talking to anyone familiar with the Lego Batman movie, the unconventional relationship between Batman and the Joker.
They kind of have this obsession with each other that almost feels like a bit of a fondness in a way. Like they both kind of get off
and
in
the
a
chase,
weird
there's
way.
a cat and mouse relationship. Whenever they get too close to each other, it feels like they're always bickering like an old married couple.
Yeah. I think Come On.
Oh yeah, no. I think I think Batman can do a little bit better than the Joker.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about every crazy relationship that's happened in a movie. We'd be here all day if we talked about all the pairings in some of these Batman movies.
Speaking about famous couples, you don't get much more iconic than Superman and Lois Lane.
Lois Lane definitely has that sort of boss bitch energy, and Superman is kind of just like a big teddy bear, like Clark Kent is just kind of like this quiet, shy, soft-spoken reporter. And they seem pretty stable, despite the fact that Lois cheated on Superman, like, all throughout the Silver Age. Everybody likes to forget about that, but she had some interesting encounters with people that weren't Superman, even though a lot of that is definitely not canon today, but still, you know, it is interesting that was a pocket of their relationship at one point. The start of their relationship, before she knew he was Superman, there was kind of this thing where she was constantly trying to figure out that Clark Kent was Superman, so that kind of started her obsession. There's always been some sauce. Do you think they're saucy, or do you think maybe a little bit lower?
I think they're adorable. I think they're adorable. Now, the next one on our list is gonna be saucy. And that is my controversial opinion, which is that Superman and Lana Lang belong together, not Superman and Lois Lane. Lana Lang and Clark Kent met each other very young. As they grew up, they parted ways, but Lana Lang never forgot about that little farm boy, Clark Kent.
Yeah, well, these days she just married Steel, so...
Ooh,
so
cold. No.
So yeah, they just got married in the Summer of Superman special. So now they've both taken by someone else.
How dare you?
But you know, with Superman, he's still a friend to her. He's happy, even though their relationship didn't work out. they're still able to stay as friends. And you know what? Say that's pretty saucy. Because I know Luke wants to put them up there.
I'm gonna put them up there because I think Superman belongs with the farm girl. I think it just makes sense. Yeah, that's my pick. I think it's the sauciest.
And while we're talking about saucy, we have one more that I would say is pretty darn saucy. We have something that actually happened in an animated movie, and I know we said we're trying not to do too many of those, but this one is very iconic. It went viral online. People were memeing it to death because it is just so funny, but makes complete sense. And we have John Constantine and King Shark, and if you watch the Justice League Dark Apocalypse movie, you would see that they had a little bit of a thing, a little bit of a relationship. What do you think, Luke? I think...
I say we put it at saucy.
Okay.
Only to encourage DC. I want a romantic novel about John Constantine and Killer Shark. I want to see it. I think it would sell. We're gonna put it on top. It was wishful thinking. I think that would make an extremely amusing book. A romance between King Shark and John Constantine that very clearly doesn't end up all that well. I want to see it.
James Gunn.
Take
notes.
Pride Month. It happens once a year, man. It's perfect time to release a comic. Let's do it.
So that's the list. What do you think? I agree with the list.
I agree.
What do you guys think? I'm sure some people do not agree with the list because everyone has their own opinions and people get very defensive, especially about pairings in comic books. So I'm sure that there are plenty of people who will disagree, so please let me know. Until next time, peace out.